Welcome to episode 76 of Working Towards Our Purpose. Today's episode, we are going to talk about finding community. But before we get into that, we are going to do our check-in with ourselves. So take a moment and see how you're feeling right now and see where you're at. Yeah. So for me, I'm feeling a little anxious because I just have a lot of cool stuff that I get to do today. So trying to make sure that I can fit it all in and everything. But yeah, feeling present here now. So yeah, let's get into the episode. So I want to talk about community today, and it's been sort of an important thing for me, and I've found myself kind of go in and out of phases of feeling like I've, I guess, been in community or have had community. And I just think it's been a really important thing for me, for my growth and my coming to figure out what I want to do and the things that I want to chase after and be supported in those things. So yeah, I think it's important. And let's first start by identifying what community is, because I'm not sure that I really knew what that meant a couple 10 years ago. I'm not sure I really knew what community meant. And I think that I maybe thought of it as friends, and I think that community is very different than friends. Sorry, just taking a drink of water. So yeah, I think friends are great and they're obviously important. But I think community is different than friends. And I think that what makes community different is that it could be with friends, but it's also with people that are not friends. And it's also in a public setting, in a public environment, which makes it a little bit different, I think. So it's also, a community to me is something that there's like-minded individuals there. It could be in the first episode of this podcast, I interviewed Steve Roberts, and I think I brought this up before, but when he was growing up, he had a skateboarding community. So it was a group of kids that skateboarded, they went and hung out and were trying to learn skateboarding tricks and all that sort of stuff. And that's a community you can wrap your head around. It's a group of kids that are skateboarding, and that's it can be your friends, but it's also there's people coming in and out. You meet new people. So I think that that's an important aspect of it, and it's different than just having friends. And for me, it feels different because I've I guess been fortunate, not I guess, but I have been fortunate enough to have had friends, for as long as I can remember. But I haven't always had community. So I feel that they are two separate things. And hopefully I'm articulating that in a way that makes sense. And then I think the last piece to community too is it's a non-judging space. And, I think school, for example, didn't feel like community for me because I don't know, it's just could be a harsh environment. Definitely didn't feel like I could be who I wanted to be in, express the ideas that I wanted. So for me, community is a place where you feel, for lack of a better term, safe enough to be who you are. So why do I think community is important? I think it's important because, wow, that sounds like an interview question. It's just on my notes here. It says why do I think it's important? So I think community is important because it's supportive yet challenging. It's a place where you can grow and feel comfortable in growing. It's a place where you can meet new people and expose yourself to different things than you otherwise would have. And something that's been hugely beneficial for me with community is being inspired by people that are in that community. Having examples of people who are doing the things that you want to be doing, and they're doing it in real time. It's an example. So if, I want to be a business owner and I'm hanging out with this group of business owners and to be, and to be business owners, then I can get inspiration by that, and I can like see how that could be me. And then the last thing that is helpful with community too is just the accountability of it. Like, if we go and use the skateboarding example, it's like, maybe every Friday everybody goes and hangs out and skateboards. So it keeps you accountable to going there every Friday and, focusing on your craft of skateboarding and learning new tricks and stuff like that. In that example too, it also keeps you out of, bad things that you could be doing, whether it's just like routing your brain or actual bad things like, getting involved with things that aren't helpful for you. So I think that's another aspect of it. And then lastly, to kind of like solidify this idea of community that I'm trying to articulate, I just want to talk about briefly the 3 different types of community that I've felt in the past, like, I don't know, 5-6 years. And since leaving my corporate job, to give you like more of an example of what community feels like. And then we'll get into 3 different ways of like how to find community like that. So yeah, when I left my corporate job, there was a year that I pretty much like, it was COVID. So, I guess it makes sense that I was like alone in my apartment. But I was just trying to like make it work by myself, and I didn't get very far. I remember specifically that I made, for my first year of doing it full time, my business, I made the same amount that I did the previous year doing it part time, which was like hugely deflating. And it caused me to like look at what was happening and be like, okay, we have to make a change here. And I realized after that year that like I knew nothing about business and I needed to learn about it. So, I also moved to New Haven during that time and was lucky enough to find this co-working space called Known, which doesn't exist anymore. But they had networkings every Wednesday, and I kind of just like stumbled into it. Like I was kind of looking for it, but I met Barb, who was on this podcast, and she kind of like forced me to go, which I'm appreciative of, because we met for, weekly for probably a year before it sort of slowed down. And it was kind of the first place where I ever felt like I did have community, at least as far as I can remember. And again, friends are separate from community for me. But it was the first place that like I went and like there were people there that I knew and they were friendly. And we became sort of friends, after the year. But yeah, it was really hard to go to those sometimes because it's like intimidating. I'm not like the most social person. I'm probably lean more towards introvert. So it is very hard to go and like go to a networking event. But this space was a little bit different. It wasn't like this stuffy sort of corporate networking events that like I've been to in my corporate jobs where everybody was like, serious faced and you're kind of just there for like the free food and stuff. This was like a place where people were like working on things and trying things. And I remember multiple times like brainstorming different ideas with different people. Like one person had an idea and we would just kind of like go around and be like, oh, have you tried this? Or what about this? Or I did this in the past. And it was just a really like supportive environment to where you could talk about the things that weren't going well. And that was really helpful for me at the time. And then that sort of, ran its course and, unfortunately it wasn't there anymore. But then I found another sort of community when I became involved in farmers markets, and I've talked about this before too. But yeah, the farmers market community is just really, it's a space where there's a lot of small businesses and, a lot of people who work with the earth and kind people, farmers. And, I looked for, even though it was a job, I looked forward to going to that every week and, being in that environment and, getting different business ideas sometimes, and even just like happy to see, people like maybe it was a rainy day or something, but we were all there and we all showed up and could joke around with each other and stuff like that. So that was another sort of space that felt like community for me. And then finding friends within that community, like finding really good, close friends that were in that community. And like, that's how I kind of found them and connected. So that was a great place to like foster friendship too. And then sort of the last thing that I want to talk about as far as community, because I kind of also got away from the farmers market a bit too, and looking to get back into it in the future, but not really as connected as I was. So now I have like this third thing that I feel as, at this new thing that is community, is an emerging community for me, is these, the New Haven, like open mic musician circle that I'm starting to dip my toes into and seeing what a supportive environment it really is. And yeah, I just want to have this like quick story. I know I'm kind of rambling a bit, I think. Maybe I'm not. Anyways, I have this quick story of this guy who attends these open mic nights, and I've only been to 2 so far, but he showed up to both, and he said he just turned 80, and he does like this sort of slam poetry, and it's extremely entertaining, and he's like really good at it, and it's like funny, and he's like super expressive, and like, yeah, just like quite a personality. And from what I've noticed, or at least my perspective, I mean, it could not be totally true, but it looks like he shows up by himself and just like comes every week, and like, he's friends with the people that also come every week, and there's like this rotating group of people that are in and out. But for him to like, I don't know, like I was putting myself in his shoes a little bit, and I'm like, wow, that's so cool that he can come to this place where he does this thing, and like, people pay attention and listen to him when he's going up there, because he's funny and entertaining, and you like completely wild and unexpected, like you have no idea what he's going to do or say. And like, that must feel really good for him to like have that at his age. Cause like, I know some other people his age, and they may not like have that. And I don't know, I just think that like, he must be really like grateful for that place that exists, so that he can come and like be his wild, crazy self, and like, that's cool and okay, and people like dig it. So yeah, that's a newer space for community for me that I'm looking to invest myself more into. But yeah, enough about like what community is. Hopefully I've painted a picture. And yeah, so like 3 ways to find community, because I know that it is hard. Like, I think most people, I don't know, maybe not most people, but a lot of people are not extroverted, and these sort of seem like places where like extroverted people will go. And I kind of just wanted to like talk about that. Like, you don't have to be extroverted to go to these places. Like, I'm very shy, I'm very quiet, I'm very awkward. I'm not the best at like being in a public environment. I get nervous and all that stuff. So, but if I could go and like, it's hard sometimes, but like, I always walk away from it and I'm always like, wow, that was really cool. That like, I'm glad that I went. That was fulfilling. So yeah, I just wanted to like encourage, hopefully, people that if you feel like you're not that person, or you can't do that, it is there for you. And once you do it, it's not as scary as it feels beforehand. And I know that we're coming into the winter months where it's getting cold and you want to just be inside, and maybe you want to be the opposite of social, and that's cool too. I totally get that. But maybe if you don't, I have 3 ways to try to find communities like these. And the first one is this is probably the easiest, is to find a friend. Like, find a friend who is going to places like this, and just tag along with them, because that's the easiest way to go. Is like, somebody else is going, all right, I'll just go with them and we'll see what happens. And that's kind of how I got into this open mic community. Was there's friends that were going and sort of dragged me, and I made it and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I do want to participate in this. So yeah, find that friend who maybe is extroverted or maybe is not, but is going to these community events, and just tag along with them. And the second one is to find a space. And I think there's a lot of like little special places that exist out there, no matter if you're in like a city or a small town or whatever. There's always these kind of places that really focus on and emphasize community. And there's definitely, you know, where the open mic is that I go is a place that really focuses on community and has all these different types of community events. And if you come on a place like that, likely they have a calendar of different events going on. You know, maybe you're into like knitting or crocheting or creative writing or poetry. They usually have some sort of like event like that you can go and research and find and attend one that like you care about. And I think that these special places do exist, and it's just a matter of like finding where they are. I'm in New Haven, so there's like a couple of these places, which is cool. But I know that there's other places there too, you know? And a lot of times they're like coffee shops or like breweries, places that are like sort of a third space and, you know, just open for like events. And I think, that kind of brings me to the third thing, which is, if you don't know of a space like that, you can always go online and go to like Eventbrite or Meetup. And these sorts of websites just have lists of events. So you could type in like creative writing, and then it'll tell you based on location where you can find events that are for creative writers. And likely this will lead you to a place where like this space is. So that'll kind of like get you in if you don't know of any spaces. So kind of cascades down. I feel like the steps do, for being able to find these sorts of community spaces. And then, and the last thing I did want to say too is like, I know you can find community online, and not against that at all. But for me, being in community in real life is much different. And I think as humans, we crave that. And I can only speak for myself, but I do crave that. And I crave it, but it's hard to do it. So it's this weird thing of like, I want to be there, but it's also hard. So finding spaces that are like inviting and just like super low key, non-judgmental, are really helpful for being able to feel like you have community. And so yeah, I think in person is way better than online. Although I know you can have community online, in person, there's just something different about like connecting with humans in person, and you can't replace that. So there was one more thought that I had, and I just lost it. Let me see if I can get it back. Yeah, I guess not. Dang. It was something about the online versus in person. Yes. Okay, I got it. Sorry. And because I don't edit, you'll have to listen to that white noise. But anyways, I think that like this is something that our like modern culture, and this isn't a new idea, but I think this is something that our modern culture has sort of gotten away from. And, back in the day, it seemed like there was way more places for community. Like people, went to church and they had like actually talked to their neighbors and like, things like that. So I think like as technology advances and like we can do everything by ourselves, it's easy to forget that like we do need those spaces to connect with each other on a human level. And I think that finding places of community, things that you're into, it can be these sort of like replace these. You don't have to go to like church every Sunday, but if you're into music, you can go to open mics. If you're into poetry, if you're into knitting or whatever, there's something out there for whatever you're into. So yeah, I think I'll wrap it up there. I think I'll leave it at that. But just want to talk about community because it's been on my mind. And yeah, so we'll end it there. Thank you for listening. As always, I appreciate you, and I will see you on another episode real soon. Take care.